All right, greetings to you, Terri. Thank you for sparing some time out of your busy schedule and being with me on podcast today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me onto your podcast.
And I would like love to tell my viewers that Terri is the author of two books, My Magical Garden, My Magical Tree, and furthermore, she runs an institute, I guess, foundation that is Angels of Light Children's Foundation, right?
Yes, correct. I have Terry Allen website, and then also I have the Angels Flight Children website as well, which we founded a foundation a few years ago. Correct.
Yeah, and in speaking of website, I went through your website and I studied your work, the kind of work that you do. I watched some of your videos as well. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation and how you do your work. I'm really intrigued to know about that.
Oh, thank you. You have to tell me which part you want to start at because there's quite a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Correct me if I'm wrong. The thing that you do is to try to bring children, like they are not connected with nature. That's the main core of your theme, right? You want to bring them closer to air, water, trees, flowers, plants to
I,
connect.
I think I think first of all, we work with mindfulness education, and the reason that we started to do it through nature is the fact that we are all nature. We're all a part of nature. We are one with nature. And in order for the mindfulness education to be um, different and more international and worldwide, is to weave it all through the programs and books through Mother Nature. And so children can easily identify that. It helps them to reconnect the neurons in their brain, helps them to easily, balance themselves. They just have an instant connection,
Mhm.
and that's very important. So that's the reason why we brought mindfulness through nature education or programs and books to children, because then it's universal. It's not just you know, one thing for one place. So that's why it started off actually through my Terry Allen personal website, whereas I was working with adults. So I'm an energy healer, meditation teacher. I used to do corporate as well, well-being, meditation, but also energy healing, Reiki, lots
Wow.
of work. And then people were bringing me their children and their teenagers, and that's how it came about to develop the child side of it. And that's where the whole thing started to take off, really.
Makes sense. Wow, Terry. And I would love to know what inspired you to write these two books, My Magical Garden and My Magical Tree. What was the inspiration behind these books?
The course that I took at the time, because the books were co-written with the other person, and it was a course that we were both on at the time, which was called Holistic Educational Therapy, and it was very art-based, art therapy, holistic, and again based a lot around nature because the woman who formed the Holistic Educational Therapy. She was already teaching in schools with special needs children and autism, and found that nature was an easy way for them to access their emotions and to balance themselves, and for parents to easily use the tool. So I studied that for a year. I passed. It was certified, and then because everything was given through art therapy and in images and cards and note cards, it was decided to come up with the notion of putting it in books in order that parents can go away with the tools that are inside of these books. So one's called, I'll grab it for you. The one's called My Magical Garden.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah, these are the books of Terry. Make sure that you check it out and kindly purchase it as well. I'm sure it's going to be immensely helpful.
Well, they're great, wonderful tools for parents, teachers, educators, therapists, and children. They're building it in the mind, the mindfulness books, the self-help books. Also, the parent can read the child is emotionally with the appendix in the back of the book. So they are art therapy based as well. And all the proceeds from the books goes back into our children's foundation so that we can give books freely to children that can't afford them wherever they're living, whatever community centre. And that's how it started, really. Um, and I started working with children in schools in Dubai, actually.
That's
So did all the Dubai with mindfulness. And then when the pandemic hit, I studied at UCLA Mindfulness University during the pandemic. And then, I could see the decline of mental health with youth during that time. And there was nothing really out there to really support them, probably a few people. And so that's when the foundation was born, was to help children globally, around the with mental health. But again, through our programs, our books, meditations that can really be downloaded and given anywhere around the world. And again, people will understand it, whatever language or country, due to the fact that it's nature.
Hmm. Yeah, I watched some of those videos where you were in Dubai and you were interacting with teachers from Dubai, and their responses was like they were quite thrilled that you were there, and the impact of your book on the minds of the children. Like I watched some of the reviews, and those were top notch. Like they had immensely moved by by your books, I guess. And
Yeah, I think we educated the teachers, they had our programs, they had our books, they put them in each classroom. So, of course, there's going to be an impact if they're implementing it, and so, we'd go back 3 months later, 6 months later, or even every year we would call back. And because they knew the effect it had on the children, but also the parents could use them as tools. So it was really a community-based program that really, helped everyone work together. So yeah, mostly all the schools were done in Dubai, actually.
wow.
Yeah, it was born then. And when I got to Los Angeles, California, I did a lot of the districts here as well. And so, yeah, and then we did our foundation where we work with other communities and other foundations, on that mental health, especially women and children. Yeah.
Then that's commendable, Terry. And some of the teachers mentioned that what makes your wait, internet connection is unstable. All right. Some of yeah, I was saying that some of the teachers told that the good things about your book is that it's child centric. It has a lot of characters and colors, so that's how children are able to connect it with me more, I guess. And also for the children who are not able to verbalize their emotions, your books were kind of like an aid to them. So, what's your take on that, Terry?
Just their communication tool. So let me just open a page in a book. So let's just say, the children choose, whether it's a flower or a tree or a water feature or a crystal, in the back of the book, there's an appendix that tells you, how the child is emotionally themselves. So one, yes, it's a tool and an insight for the parent or caregiver or therapist to really understand emotionally what's going on with the child. But also, secondly, it gives the child tools for them to understand themselves. But then it also opens up as a communication tool. If you're using it in the family or in the classroom, you're going to speak about your emotions. You're going to share your emotions, and that's what children need to know is to understand themselves better, to understand their minds better, to have more self-awareness, and to share with each other. This brings about more compassion, better communication, more honesty, more transparency. You're more stronger in yourself, and that's not taught in schools. Um, and it needs to be a part of the curriculum where children really get to know and understand their social emotional well-being and why they're here and who they are and to self-regulate. And it comes in these books and our programs and our meditation. So it's all there, but it's really accessible and easy and simple because it's Mother Nature. So it's very art-based and children come alive and it's easy for them their brains to something happens with the balance of their left and right brain, when they're in nature, when they're around nature, when they're working in it. It just sets off a whole, neurotic, like the neurons in their brain to like really develop and expand their imagination. Also, for them to tap into their imagination, to the magic of their imagination. It's not what you're given, it's, what do you want? What would you like to choose and pick in your mind, in your garden? You have choices every day. So teaching them positive and negative choices in their mindset. you know. And that's really important for kids to know that they can have a choice. You choose every day. Do you choose this or do you choose this? And if you give them the tools for them to really self-navigate and connect with what's wrong, it's going to flow better for them in life. They're going to understand what they really want, not what they don't want. And a lot of times we go with things that we don't want because we think it's the right thing to do, but it's not navigation from their inner being, and so that I find is where we like to educate the
Hmm.
children.
And in the light of what you are saying, like Terry, there is a thing like even the teachers, some of the teachers mentioned that that's the theme of your book. The choice was today. That's the line, I guess. That's there in your book. The choice was today. That the children have to decide that today is the choice, where it's not in the past or in the future. Today they have to make the decisions.
Today they have to make the decisions, but also you're planting seeds in your mind. You're planting positive seeds, disconcerting about weeds or things you don't want. Don't fill our mind with things that we don't want. We want to fill our minds with things that we do want. And just to be disconcerting in the fact that what makes us feel good, to roll into that rhythm, mindset and feeling, and just know when something doesn't feel right to then put it aside. So it's really to be very self-navigation and to be very self-aware and not to be reactive, to just sit with it a moment and then decide. Because the universe is always showing you, right? You know, it's always showing you. And if you feel a resistance, but we tend to be educated in a way to go with the resistance that it's not the right thing, and it's okay to say no. And yet, as you said, today is the choice. Today is your choice. Every day is a new choice. So today is the most important thing, how you wake up, how you view yourself and the world and so I think it's a big thing to have children to just to sit and ground themselves in the classroom, to share their emotions, to really just understand their emotions. And it's so important. And I think it's really missing today.
True.
Then you're running on a story that someone's given you. It's not your story.
Hmm. Makes sense.
A lot of children say things like when they're building their garden in their imagination, they come up with things that they think they want you to hear. And secondly, maybe things they've seen on TV or their parents. Or, it's not their story. So I correct them and say, right, what do you want? And they really have to sit with it a minute. Well, this is what I want. Then don't put the other things in you don't want, So it really gives them a sense of, oh, hold on a minute, I have a choice. And in school, how many times do children have a choice unless they're in a very unique school, You don't,
Hmm.
you just
Yeah.
right. And so that's where it gives them the power back to them as well. That's why they feel so excited. So yeah, it's great to see the light go on in their mind and the excitement from the children and the joy and the self-awareness to just really click in.
And on top of that, like even I deal with children because as I'm an English teacher, usually what I see is Terry that nowadays, I want to know what's your perspective on it. Mobile addiction, then junk food addiction. What do you feel about that? Like obviously these things are harming the mindset, mentality of the children, but what's your take on it?
I think that again, if you equip kids with tools, if you equip children with tools to um, you know, to give them tools before giving them a device. Okay. So the devices are going to be there. It's their future. It's not going to go away. There's a positive and negative to them. The thing is to give children the tools and self-awareness tools and the emotional tools to know when it's right to get off them, when something doesn't feel right, to not go clicking on those things. And I would only give a child a mobile phone 14 or 15 years of age. I really wouldn't give one before then.
Hmm.
I wouldn't give a child social media before then. I mean, I give my son his phone when he was 14, and I wish I hadn't given it at 14. I think I'd wait till 15. But we do monitor it, and we have given him tools. But I do know that I've had to step in occasionally and remove it and say, look, this is the emotions. I can notice a change in your behavior, blah, blah. So I'm reiterating and educating that as I'm going. And so you do have to step in and still guide because they're still youth and they're still your children. You're there as a guide. But what I say to parents is don't give it to them until they're a certain age, until you know that they have the emotional tools to feel good in themselves, to handle the bombardment that's coming, and then to choose what feels right for them and choose to educate yourself from it, educate from the online system, and also do a business with it. Use it for you, not the apparatus using you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I would tell parents. But don't give a child if they're very sensitive and not equipped with mindfulness and self-awareness and mental health tools. I wouldn't do it. I
Hmm.
wouldn't give.
Okay. In a nutshell, like give your children once they turn 15 or 16. At that time, I guess that's the right thing.
That's my advice. I think, yeah, if you want to give them a phone, give them a Nokia that if you want to call them and text them, but don't give them the Android or the Apple, or, because they're access so much stuff and you don't know what's programmed in their mind. And when you do give them a phone, if let's say you choose to give it a 14 or 15 or an Android at 16, attach the system to your phone so we know what my son is watching.
True.
It's attached, and then also you can have a code on it where they can only use it so many hours a day. The social media is knocked off for 2 hours a day. You're limited to an hour a day or two. It depends on your schoolwork. It depends where you are. The parent is in control here. They're paying for the device. You are paying for everything. So be a parent, step in, guard your child, just like you would guard your child swimming. You wouldn't chuck it in the swimming pool, would you? You're going to give you swimming lessons. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and that's where it become a lazy device. Give the phone, spend more time with the child, or give them, when you go outside, take coloring books, take cards, take things to play with, do Uno cards, do whatever, talk, communicate. Not all on these devices. It needs to get back to family values, I think. That's my advice.
Right. Like as I deal with a lot of people who are from the US, your country, what I have observed is like parents usually don't have that much of time, to connect with their children because I guess inflation, recession, all these things are taking place, and they are usually buried with work. So rather than spending some quality time with their children, they would prefer to give them a device so that they can stay like glued to those things. So what's your take on that, Terry?
I wouldn't, again, at a certain age, I wouldn't do that. You
Hmm.
know, age, I wouldn't do that. Again, I'd take all the precautions that the device is attached to my phone. I want to know what they're watching. I wouldn't give them any social media unless they're using it to raise money or they've got, they're really smart and they want to do a business. Again, it's under your account. And to try and spend as much time with your children because that's why you have them. At the end of the day, we've all got to work and we're all busy, but at the end of the day, talk and sit. And if you can have dinner together, if you can talk to one another, you have moments where you go for walks and just be, even if it's on the weekends, but check in at night as well, wherever you can check in and give them books to read, watch a movie, get outside and play, do a sport, get them in sports. That's what we do with my son. I get him in sports and we monitor the length of time that he's on a device. And as I say, he's like, if he's on TikTok, we see what he's watching. If anything flags up, the phone's taken. I will delete the app. So I'm giving my child full range. I'm trusting you because I've given you tools and I'm trusting you with what you're watching. But I still go and check. But I said if you break the trust, then the app will go. So you have to disconcern with what's right to watch and what's not. So at the moment, it's only been a few times that actually it's come through YouTube, actually, the times that we've had to stop and say, hey, because the YouTube's attached to us, we can see what he's watching. If I see anything on there to do with guns or shit, no, we will shut it off So we then have a discussion about it. We don't just say no. We sit and discuss and explore and teach and educate the reason why we're giving caution here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And remove it. We have a big discussion and we go deeper into it to give the understanding of why we're protecting at that time.
And Terry, in terms of food, I'm not sure whether you can resonate with this or not, but I often see my students, they are usually habituated with processed food, chips, junk food, most of the time. And like even their parents also, they are also habituated with this kind of thing. And what I feel is nowadays children are really hyper. They are, really like they are not calm, and that's what I feel. And I guess the main thing has to do with the eating of like this processed food, spicy foods.
I'm surprised with India. I've been to India many times because obviously I lived in the Middle East for 20 years, right? So I visited India a lot and I had a lot of Indian friends. I'm surprised that the processed food has got into your market. It wasn't when I visited as the processed food really got in. I mean, I haven't been back to India for about 8 years, but in the last 8 years, as the processed food creeped in there,
Yeah, it has been it has been like chips, burgers, all this thing. I guess somehow like people are trying to be more westernized, so they're really into pizzas. Pizzas are now become a tradition. Like if you have a birthday and if you don't celebrate by consuming pizzas, then they're it's not a how you celebrate your birthdays.
very shocked by that. I am really shocked, and the reason I'm saying that is the fact that you have such great cuisine.
Definitely.
You have such healthy food and great cuisine. I do not give my son can have a treat. I don't say no to anything. There's
Hmm.
always balance. Otherwise, the child's just going to find a way to eat it. Okay, so just don't do that. But once a week, he can have a treat. He can have an In and Out or a Chick-fil-A, but he will not be eating McDonald's for one. No.
Hmm.
No McDonald's or unless they clean up the ingredients. Do you understand what I'm saying? Not anti these places, but if you clean up, like the ingredients to McDonald's in the UK is much better than it would be in the US. So
Okay.
they need to improve the ingredients, okay? So, but fast food, I think to me is something, it's a treat. It's once a week.
Hmm.
Think, again, cook properly because again, you are what you eat. Mother
True.
Nature,
Definitely.
the nutrients. Mother Nature gives us so much, and that's what we are, a part of Mother Nature. So it's very important to educate children on food, the importance of food, and the effects of the mind and the body. Yes, 100%. So my son is allowed junk food, like a Chick-fil-A or In and Out or something like that. But really, the bad ones, no, I don't ever give it to him. He's not allowed. No.
Okay.
I and he's allowed a soda maybe once a week. Again, and I tend to give him a Mexican soda because it's got cleaner ingredients. It's made with real cane sugar, not corn syrup. So, I don't ever say no,
Hmm.
but I cook a lot. So, my mother cooked and she was a single mother working. We never had fast food back in the day, in
Oh,
England.
nice.
Wasn't a McDonald's came, I think, when I was about 18, 19. Like it came a lot later. I think Burger King was first. And it was a treat. We were giving it as a treat. And I don't think I had my first burger till I was probably 20 years of age, 19.
Wow, that's nice. Yeah.
We were on it. So again, everything in moderation. It's not no. Look at the ingredients, check the ingredients, read the ingredients. Yeah, you're right. If I hear this from a lot of teachers that children, one, if they're full of chemicals, they can't concentrate. Your
True.
brain, and how can the child be calm and relaxed and focused? It's very difficult. And so the school should try and educate maybe on food, your school. Maybe are you in a school?
No, I don't teach in a school. Like I run my own personal classes where children come to my place. and I provide online coaching to adults from different parts of India, like of spoken English and communication skills.
Yeah, diet is so important,
Yeah.
and yeah, eat the food that your land is giving you. The fresh food is fresh mind, fresh body.
Sure.
Um, you should have those things as a treat. You're not going to eat cake every day. It will be a treat, right?
Yeah.
It's not, but also really be careful of the ingredients and just, try and choose the healthier option. Whereas in the US now, I think they're trying to clean up the ingredients, whereas in Europe, we have a cleaner ingredient, and everyone knows that. That's why they're trying to clean it up here. So I'm not anti anyone, but if you clean it up, then it's okay to have a treat. So that would be my advice to parents.
But
Um,
what you are saying is as a kind of treat. But Terry, if I tell you honestly, what if a treat is not a treat? If they are habituated with it, not like once in a week, but twice in a week.
I think you have to educate the person you're talking to,
Okay.
and tell if you want to develop better, if you want your mind to be clearer, then your body is a temple. What you're putting in it, what you wouldn't put crap fuel in your car, it's going to break down. So I would really educate your users and say, if you want to be clear mind,
Yeah.
be clear eating, drinking, and try it. Just tell them to try fresh food for like 2 or 3 weeks and see how the body feels.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's what I would say. But yeah, it's really important to,
Mm.
you have such great food there. I'm really shocked.
True, but like I said, Westernization has been coming in India, and because of that, a lot of people are into Western foods like burger, pizzas, and other things. So yeah, that's how it has been. And when we say like when I tell them not to eat this kind of thing, usually they say that go get a life. It's okay. We live only once. This kind of things. So
And then, but it's a treat. But also, you can have healthy burgers. You can have healthy pizzas. You can have healthy everything. Just choose the right person. Look at the ingredients before you're consuming it from that company.
uh,
That's all. That, that's what it is. Would you give your child a Coca-Cola? Would you give a baby Coke? You wouldn't.
yeah,
Now, I'm not saying I'm against Coca-Cola, but would you give what you're eating? Would you give your baby that? It's going to be a no. You want your baby to be strong. Again, it's all in moderation. It's just have it in moderation. I mean, some people can get away with it and they're fine, but majority of people are not. So I just, again, it's your mental, it's your mind, your body, what you put in it. If you're putting too much alcohol, it's like anything, everything's balanced.
definitely. And coming back to technology, Terry, do you feel like it's helping children becoming more creative, or it's hindering the creativity of children when it comes to technology?
Technology is definitely educating the children because every time I hear something out my son's mouth, but I'm like, how do you know that? Oh, I learned it on YouTube. So they really learn a lot. Like they're highly, if they're really on that platforms to educate themselves, they can be very bright. They can educate, they can draw, they can do a lot of things. There's a lot of positives. Okay. Um, but on the other hand, I always say to the children, when I'm going in the schools with the books, and they do the art lesson afterwards, they draw the gardens of trees. Remember that the idea starts in you. The creativity comes from you. It doesn't come from a device. Somebody that creates movies, it comes from their imagination. When you write a storybook, look at J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter. It came from her imagination. She didn't, you know what I mean? Or her life. So it comes from the magic of you. So the device can help like my son loves art, he loves drawing, so he'll look up online how to best draw a figure or how to do these. So use it for your ability, but it's not, it's going to help you to, do with your art, but it's not going to give you your art. That comes from your imagination. It's like an architect. They're going to see the building in their mind, right?
Right.
Then they paper. Then
Mm.
you put it in, you know,
And
the
what?
magic. The magic of the imagination is in you. It's in your mind.
Hmm, definitely. And what about the parents, Terry, that that they often have this thing like they want their children to be, they want their children to excel in everything, be it sports, be it academics. They want their children to be number one in all the things, in all the areas of life. What sort of advice would you like to give to those kind of parents?
I think first of all, unless you're really out there, you can't be brilliant at everything, you know. So you're normally good at certain things, I think, unless you are good at everything, which they get scholarships, they go to Harvard, they go to these top schools. For me, I know what my son's strengths are, and I tell him to really focus on those strengths. Because you can always hire someone for accounting. So don't push on the things that let them have an understanding of it. So yes, you have to have an understanding of mathematics, but he's not going to be a star pupil in it. It's more creative writing, it's more English, it's more art, it's more sports. So just really, as long as they can get by in it, but really tap into your skill set. Don't because if you're like for me, I would never go near something I'm not strong in. So you're not going to put me in anything that's to do with accounting or maths or budgeting. You're not going to get it. I'm not interested. So go into what I'm good at and stay on that. Don't go into things you're not good at. You're wasting time. The kid gets resentful. He doesn't like it and he drops out. But make sure it has an understanding, like my son has to have an understanding of the other subjects. But concentrate on the ones that you want to, that will utilize you and what you want to do going forward. So, pushing, pushing, pushing. I don't push my child. I sort of guide my child and help. I don't push. There's no point pushing, you know, and let them unfold. Let them unfold with why are they here? What is it they want to be? Who do they want to be? But again, under your guidance, but allow it to unfold. It's more about them understanding themselves better. And once they understand themselves better through mindful awareness, they then have a better capability of choosing what they want to do going forward on this planet. It's very important, not always doing what your family want you to do. I think it's very, and that's how they get that through mindful education.
All right, Terry, that was really profound. And thank you for your sagacious advices. I'm sure that my viewers will learn a lot from this video. And we will catch up later with podcast two about different sort of things about parenting. How do you, deal with children, all sort of things whenever you're free.
I think the one bit of advice before coming off was the fact was to listen.
Mm,
Listen to what your child is saying.
okay.
You need to listen, and communication is key. Communicate and listen. That's the best thing because we tend to, as parents, sometimes not. And I'm guilty of that. I'm not perfect, but observe, navigate with them, guide them, you know. It's so important, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Terry. And I guess on that note, I won't hold you any longer. And it was really an intriguing conversation with you. And thank you for being here.
You're welcome, and thank you for reaching out. And I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Take care, Terry. Bye.
Bye bye.